Bitcoin is continuing to hold above $76,000, but I do have to say that it may continue to look a little bit heavy right now. I mean, we've moved up quite nicely, but now we're kind of moving into this more sideways range. And the reason that that can get concerning, it's all right here. Everything that we see right here is why it's concerning. And I'm going to show you right now by drawing a couple of things. We're getting straight into the diagrams, ladies and gents. Smash up the likes on this video if you appreciate that. At the very beginning of this trend, we started off quite explosive, a little bit like this. But then we kind of started to taper off. We started to get a little bit less aggressive and then even less aggressive still. And now we're just kind of going sideways, right? And so to me, this paints a pretty clear image of momentum at the beginning being quite strong and then kind of tapering off and then being basically non-existent. And that's kind of what we're seeing right here, right? Initially, quite a strong, nice upward price movement, and then we kind of slow down a little bit, and we're still moving up, but now we're not really moving up at all anymore. And really, the first key thing that we've got to talk about on this chart is that we still just have the same analysis that I spoke to you guys about yesterday. Those of you that were subscribed to this YouTube channel are going to be getting access to this very time-sensitive content, so definitely make sure that you check that out if you're interested. And while you are down there, you've got huge bonuses available to you if you start trading in this market right now. This has been so useful for viewers of this market because those of you that have been taking advantage of Bybit with $30,000 for free to take or much more aggressive bonuses on Blowfin, you have seen free money deposited into your account. Many of you have already traded with that money and withdrawn profits, which is sick. And if you want to take advantage of these offers, all you have to do is start trading using these links. They're great exchanges. They're the same platforms I use. Check out your country's local laws and regulations. Make sure you're allowed to use them. But if you are, rock on. And it's such a great time to have that free money because to me, there's really a couple of clear invalidations right now. I mean, the first key one is just getting above this all-time high. And I think that if Bitcoin does, given that it's now established a little bit of a sideways trading range, there could be some momentum that really explodes higher for Bitcoin here. And we've actually already seen this before. I want to show you how this happened back in, was it 2020? I think it was 2020. What Bitcoin did when it got its breakout. Was this 2020? This happened in, yeah, it was right at the very, very end of the year. And what we saw, if we go ahead and kind of replay this chart, is that Bitcoin basically set an all-time high, and then it just went sideways, right? And it kind of just started trading sideways. And I remember this very well because I was in a long position from way, way lower, like maybe down, yeah, somewhere like up here, down here, I was, yeah, like 14K. And I only closed that position, I can't remember now, but it was one of the biggest profits I had made in my life up until that point, and you guys had known about it, obviously. So if you've been subscribed to this YouTube channel, that shit pays really well across a long period of time and across a short period of time too. You know, and here with this chart, what happened is we broke that all-time high here at $20,000, and then we just kind of went straight into a sideways trading range. And on this occasion here, it wasn't nearly as bad because Bitcoin at this time didn't have a history of, you know, shitty scam all-time highs where we only got marginally above the previous all-time high and then we dropped back down. Bitcoin didn't have that history. So it wasn't nearly as bad and it just looked like bullish consolidation. But the point is that we can kind of put down an invalidation box, right? Something that looks a little bit like this, where basically we can say that if Bitcoin gets into this range, it's going very high and it's going there very quickly. And then obviously we can see how that went with the breakout, which is that as soon as we kind of get into this range, we get that initial little rejection here. But if we play this forward, just one candle at a time here, we can see how that rejection keeps playing out for Bitcoin. And then eventually you get that pop. Look at that. You get a little bit of consolidation right at the top of your resistance zone, which is super standard. We've seen Bitcoin doing this a million times. You get that pop and then you are gone. You are absolutely flying. You're not coming back down. It is going to be something quite spectacular. Take a look at this. It is consolidating a little bit, painting another little kind of sideways trading range, but it doesn't come back down, and then it blasts off yet again. So that's obviously how this kind of thing can go, and when you trade sideways, what you do is you start to kind of build up a lot of tension, and that tension can definitely explode. That happens a lot. It's been happening less so with Bitcoin recently, but I don't think that it's gone. I think that just means the market is maturing. I've been speaking to you guys about market cap a lot lately because people just aren't getting the message. But gold right now is worth $18 trillion as a total market. That's all of the gold in the world is worth 18 trillion right now. And for Bitcoin, that number is 1.5. And so Bitcoin is literally 12 times smaller than gold right now, which in other words means that if Bitcoin pulls a 12 times gain, which seems totally conceivable in the next 10 to 15 years, for example, then Bitcoin will be worth as much as gold is today. But the reason that that's crazy is that gold has been traded for thousands of years and Bitcoin has been traded for 15. So, we really are looking at quite a spectacular, setup here in this market. But if we do bring it back to the current, the current situation, it also tells us that, we've got a very mature market now. And so we're not expecting necessarily super, super quick, explosions upward, but we are still expecting them to happen. They're just going to take a little bit of time. That's kind of my take. There are different schools of thought here. Different people are saying different things, but I feel like what we're talking about right now is most rooted in, realism and just not being too emotional and too upset or too excited. It's just very neutral. It's just very truthful, right? And I think that's what's really important. But if we look at this here, like I said, breaking that high is going to be, potentially what sets this thing off. But this is a picture that I don't want to ignore because this can result in problems. If you do start to kind of falter a little bit, basically if you start looking heavy, which is, really, and there's no like super technical way to put it, right? Like what does looking heavy mean? Like this is the way I'd speak to one of my bros when we're sitting over a shisha pipe talking about Bitcoin, right? So it's hard to really make it material what I mean by heavy, other than just showing you that clearly we're not carrying the same amount of strength that we were down here. And that's really, and the reason that that's still concerning is that Bitcoin has broken its all-time high and Trump has been elected and things are just looking really good for crypto right now. So you would want to see a little bit more strength. So all of this is to say, again, that if Bitcoin does come back down, we've got good support levels. They're not amazing and they're a little bit too close by, for what I would want to see, but we do still have them at least at $71,000 and $67,000. They're both really good zones of support. Bitcoin has used them as resistance and support before. Actually, we've never used this level as support, 71K, but we have used 67 as support and we've most definitely used it as resistance. So it's a really nice zone of support. But before we even get there, the other good thing that's happening for the bulls right now, which no one's really kind of aware of, and again, that's why you're right here on this YouTube channel, ladies and gents, so thank you all for the support, is Bitcoin's support indicators, because Bitcoin support indicators do move up while Bitcoin moves up, and we've seen how this has developed here on the 4-hour time frame. When Bitcoin was able to enjoy support from its 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, it was a big deal. It resulted in literally breaking the all-time high, and that only happened about 5 days ago. And now our support lines up with our $71,000 price zone. So, if Bitcoin does decide to kind of come back down into this price zone basically in the next 5 days, it's going to have support here from the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. But at the very same time, our daily EMA ribbon is also catching up to this price range, and it's starting to line up with $71,000. So if we get there in the next couple of days, we're probably going to see some nice support from the daily EMA ribbon. Those of you that are subscribed to this YouTube channel are going to remember that we were in this exact same position just like a week ago on this YouTube channel, and I told you that the daily EMA ribbon is a big deal for Bitcoin. I told you that the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud is a big deal for Bitcoin, and they both lined up in the same place, and they both produced an all-time high, and now the same thing is happening again. I don't fucking know. Do you want to take a guess, ladies and gents? To me, this is looking a little bit obvious, and it's not even about getting cocky or arrogant here. It's just very straightforward. The same indicators that provide support for Bitcoin are continuing to provide support for Bitcoin. I don't like this isn't something super technical. It's not something super complicated. It's just me saying that things are happening and things are regularly happening, and I think they're going to keep on happening. And I don't have reason to believe that they're not going to happen yet. We just have a week follow through on an all-time high breakout, which is not great. It's definitely not good, but it's not a deal breaker, right? We're not, we're not screwed. And I think that's really important to look at while we explore some of the other markets here, which are screwed, like the altcoin market, because Bitcoin's dominance has taken a little bit of a drop down today, but it's still ridiculously high, and altcoins are still in ridiculously horrible positions. I know that there were a lot of people kind of starting to take victory laps here because some coins have been performing very well. But it's worth reminding you that even one of these good performers like Uni, which by the way has moved up by 45% basically within a day or two, Uniswap is now only trading where it was trading 130 days ago, or 150, or 170, or 210, or 260, which means that in other words, you've made no fucking money. And I think that's a really, really big deal because people who are getting excited about these altcoin gains right now are getting excited that they're losing slightly less money now. It's really not a great it's not a great place to be, because comparatively Bitcoin is at an all-time high, right? Nobody can possibly be losing money on Bitcoin right now unless they're in a short. But any Bitcoin holder can only be in a profit right now. Everybody is in a profit. And you can't say that about these coins. And I think that picture is going to continue to get worse. We are seeing a little bit of green, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But the most important thing I need to tell you about right now is that you are about to get a big 5-part video plus a anchor video dropped today, tomorrow, next day, very, very soon. It is going to be a multi-part series. I'm going to be analyzing altcoins and telling you which altcoins I think can survive and thrive in this bull market, and why, and which ones I think won't survive. And we're going to make that a big playlist for you guys. You can watch it all in order and just really get a good understanding of what each major altcoin is looking like. That's going to be coming out today, tomorrow. So subscribe if you haven't done so already. Get the bell icon checked if you haven't done so already. This is going to relate directly to bags that you hold or bags that you're interested in holding. And it's also interesting for me because these are bags that I'm going to be interested in buying, when the time comes right. So stay tuned for that. If you're excited for it, I'm going to be recording that tonight, and I'm super excited for it as well. And like I said, you got huge bonuses while you're down there if you want to take advantage of them, if you're allowed to in your country. Check them all out because all you've got to do is start trading to get that free cash. But if we do bring it back here to Bitcoin now, once again, and specifically at Bitcoin's dominance, we are seeing a little bit of a dip right now. It's no big deal. It's nothing crazy to me right now. I'm not worried about it at all. And it just looks like another kind of standard reversal that we've seen in Bitcoin's dominance so far during this uptrend. It could be the beginning of the big reversal because obviously it's happening at the most obvious level. So I don't want to kind of get too confident in what I'm saying and just act like I'm going to be 100% correct again. I was acting like that for a long time while we were kind of down here, and obviously I was correct. So sometimes I do dial up my confidence if I feel like it's justified. It's not justified right now. This could indeed be the top, and it would be such a brilliant top. The reason I don't believe it is because everybody else and their grandmother says that it will be. And speaking of that, let's take a quick look at some things on Twitter here because this is what's looking super interesting. This one's not related to crypto, but it's still interesting. 2 days since the Trump victory, stock markets hit record high, Bitcoin hits a record high, Qatar kicks out Hamas, Hamas calls for an end to a war. I mean, this is obviously going to be a little bit more blurry because it's just a big topic. Houthis stop attacking ships, Iran tones down rhetoric, EU buys American oil, plans to buy American oil, BRICS abandons plan to rival US dollar. This is kind of the most important, interesting thing, and we're seeing this reflected with the US dollar index right now, which it's been, up and down a little bit, but it's more up than down, and we've seen that since Trump got elected, so that's definitely interesting. But a little bit more kind of Bitcoin related here. This one's really interesting. Greg Abbott literally just posted this tweet here. Not just posted, I think this was a little while back, saying that he wants the state to become the global Bitcoin and crypto capital, saying Texas is already the home of crypto mining. I mean, a bit of a contested statement there. This session, Texas should become the crypto capital. Bitcoin crypto, where's the crown? I don't know. Yeah, Bitcoin, where's the crown is Bitcoin. I don't know what he's trying to say here. Maybe it wasn't written properly, but he wants Texas to be a big deal for crypto. That's a big deal for the whole world. And clearly one of the most competitive countries in the world, and arguably its most competitive state, is now becoming competitive in crypto, or trying to become more competitive in crypto. I think that's a pretty big deal. Look, we're not going to be seeing anything significant coming out of this now or soon, but I think we will see something significant coming out of this in a few months or in a few years. And it's just going to kind of slowly and gradually build, and it's about, choosing where you want to place your chips, right? A lot of people who are in the United States right now in crypto have had basically no good opportunities in this market other than bullshit like NFTs or meme coins. For the last years, they've had no opportunities because the US has just completely regulated itself out of the fucking industry, as you do in the West, apparently. But now it's starting to come back a little bit, and we're talking about a lot of people with a lot of interest and a lot of brains and a lot of money who haven't really been able to play in this market yet. And if that starts to open up, then I think that's going to be very relevant and a very big deal for people who are in the West, because the West has been, I've been in Dubai for the last 4 years, right, here in the crypto space, and everything's going on, right? Like, everything in crypto is happening in, little pocket. I mean, it's happening all over the world, but it's most visible and it's most loud in Asia. Okay, we're talking about Singapore and places like Thailand and Indonesia, and of course Dubai being now probably #1 front and center. And that's where everything is happening. But I do think that we're going to start to see that shift and spread a little bit. I obviously expect Dubai to retain its control because they've got the most innovation-friendly policies, and that's where innovation is going to happen. And everybody and their grandmother wants to go to Dubai right now. And by the way, if you also want to join the mass influx of people going to Dubai, and you're kind of curious about what it looks like, and maybe kind of looking for where you can stay and what your setup would look like, how to get your visa, and just general questions, queries, whatever, getting yourself set up, I can actually help you with all of that. I've helped big people move to Dubai already, quite a few, and that's something that I'm offering. So if you want to kind of get yourself involved, then you can reach out to me any way that you like. If you want to reach out to me directly on Telegram or Twitter or Instagram, just shoot me a DM and we'll get you sorted. But we've already actually had a lot of inquiries about that. So that's really, really cool. A lot of people want to kind of start saving on their taxes a little bit, and then also obviously live in a safer country where, their wife or their daughter can just walk outside at night and not worry about it. Because believe it or not, a lot of people do live their life like that. They just don't do that in the West. So, and I think it's quite nice too. That's the reason that I moved to Dubai. I was walking outside with my mom at 3 a.m. on a residential, and I was like, what the fuck, this is... And then I left her, and I just walked away because I wanted to go do something else. And then I looked back and I was like, what the fuck, how have I just left my mom like at 3 a.m. outside? And then I was like, oh wait, no, it's Dubai. That's why I feel safe, right? And then I was like, all right, I'm sold. I'm moving here. That's how it went for me. Rumors of Tesla likely to accept Bitcoin as payment method in the next 2 months. I don't think this is a big deal, but people are super excited for this. Kraken is even trying to drum up a little bit of hype. The reason that I don't think this is a big deal is because Tesla did it before, and Elon Musk flip-flops a little bit on the Bitcoin conversation. He's quite inconsistent. It almost seems like he's more consistent about things like Dogecoin. Whatever. I'm not here to criticize him. I'm probably his biggest fan ever, but he definitely isn't going to be a North Star for Bitcoin, in my opinion. And neither will his company Tesla. So I don't think that this is a big deal. On the bigger scale, is this good that it means more major companies are adopting Bitcoin? Yes, in that sense it is good. But overall, this has already happened before. It didn't have a big impact on the market, and I expect it to have an even smaller impact on the market this time. Here's something interesting. Alex Becker. Good old Alex Becker. How you doing, man? Let me know if you're watching this video. Maybe you remember me. The thing you need to realize, in 2020, in the 2020 run, a $70,000 Bitcoin was a very high price. Anything above 100K was unreasonable. Thus, the risk to reward at 69K was bad. As of right now, a $300,000 Bitcoin is extremely reasonable. The risk to reward at 70K is great. Basically, what he's saying here is that we weren't adjusted to these price levels. Back in 2020, when we were coming up to $70,000, we were anchored at 20K, right? Or we were anchored at 10K. This is a really, really big deal. Most of our trading between 2018 and 2020 happened around $10,000, right? I mean, it happened in a lot of different price ranges. It happened at $6,000. It happened at $8,000. It happened at $14,000. There were a lot of key kind of price levels, but none of them were $70,000 and none of them were $100,000. And so we weren't mentally adjusted to those figures. And we also hadn't, you see, the market gains legitimacy when it gets up to a very high price level, but it doesn't drop. This is a really big deal, and we've spoken about this a lot, and it's how I correctly, obviously, forecasted the breakout on gold. If we take a look at gold and how gold was performing for the last 10 to 15 years, it had quite horrible performance, but then it got back up to its all-time high and it just held there for 4 years. And I was explaining to you that this is exactly what happens before you break the all-time high, because when the market is able to get this high, or just even this high, but not drop substantially lower, back down into the big range, because this is obviously where most of the trading happened, right? I mean, if we throw the VPVR on this thing, I don't know if it's going to work on this particular chart, but, you know, you're going to see that the point of control is going to come in. Yeah, I don't think it works on this particular chart, but, you know, obviously most of the trading is happening here. But if the market doesn't take that chance to come back down here, then what the market is telling you is two things. Number one, the market is telling you that the bears are not strong enough to drive the price lower. Number two, it's telling you that the bulls are strong enough to take the price higher. And so what happens is if the market can climb to a high level and then stay there, and that's the most important thing, it has to stay there. If the market can stay there afterwards, that provides legitimacy. And legitimacy is a really big deal, because if the market feels like $70,000 is a more legitimate price level for Bitcoin, the next thing that you get is a blue sky breakout. And that's exactly what happened to gold, and it's exactly what I expect will happen to Bitcoin. Regardless of if a correction comes first, obviously, I think that eventually what we're going to get is a chart that looks exactly like this for Bitcoin, taking it significantly higher than $100,000. You know, and I think that's all a really, really important, you know, kind of round of context to anchor ourselves with, because now we've spent a shitload of time at $70,000. We've spent over 7 months up in this general price zone. I know that we've kind of been trending down a little bit, but it's all just the same big bull flag pattern that we were talking about for a very long time, right? Those of you that have been watching this channel regularly are going to remember that I was saying this is exactly what's going to happen. It was the most obvious chart pattern at the very beginning when we spotted it many months ago, before anybody else was talking about it, and we knew that this is exactly how it would play out, because it's just probability, right? We're not looking to reinvent the wheel or do anything particularly crazy or even insightful. We're just looking at probabilities, and the probabilities tell us that if the market is trending up and then the market pauses, it's probably going to keep going up. And then if the market starts going down slowly, it's probably going to keep going up. It's the most basic chart pattern that we've ever seen, and it happens all the time, both in the down direction where you can slowly fight your trend sideways or just go down, and of course, in the up direction, which is what we've done here. No surprises at all. And obviously, we're getting paid for it, ladies and gents. You guys know that I've been in my Bitcoin long position since the bottom in this market, and I'm still in that 10x long position, and it's the most profit I've ever made in my life percentage-wise, well over like 2,500% in profit right now, 2,500% profit. I need to show this to you because the numbers just sound crazy, right? Like they're just like, shut the fuck up, Sammy. You know, the numbers don't make sense, and then you see them and it's like, all right, like this is kind of crazy. So let's take a look at this stuff, because I'm super proud of this, and it's just part of following really good kind of trading principles, namely that when you're in the market, you're not necessarily seeking to mess around with your position. If you're already making money, you don't need to mess around. 2,500% profit right there on my Bitcoin position, 1,000% profit on my TRX position here on Bybit, linked in the bottom, linked at the top of the description, where you're going to get your 30K for free to trade with. Those are the gains that I'm looking at right now, and it was all from the basic principle of just not touching a position that's making money. And it's the same idea that I'm talking about with this Bitcoin chart right now. If Bitcoin's already trending up and it's getting a breakout right now and it's consolidating at all-time highs, we're not going to question it. We understand that these things can go up because they're legitimized at these price levels. Back then at 70K, there was no more liquidity to be had. 70K was peak hype and FOMO. Right now, 70K is where we are at meh interest. He's basically talking about what I'm saying from a more psychological perspective. I'm saying that we became that this price level was legitimized. He is saying that people have become accustomed to this price level. It's the same thing, and I think this is a really big deal. And so he's just pulling a random number now, saying 300K. Obviously, any number in the six figures is going to be reasonable to entertain at this stage, I think. But 300K is also, I think, extremely reasonable. So. Absolutely very, very good stuff here. But speaking of these big price targets, let's take a look at this guy. This is how I think a lot of people are going to be feeling. People who kind of just decided, I'm going to sell Bitcoin at 60K and buy back lower. It ain't smart. It ain't smart. I know that it worked out for a lot of people that tried, and I know that it worked out for many. I know that it did not work out for many more people that tried, right? It's not smart to do stuff like that with the anticipation to buy back lower. This market is just not known to give people potential entries that they're looking for. It's just not known for it. And so most of the time what ends up happening is that people just kind of buy where they buy, and then a long enough time passes and then they end up being in a profit. And, you know, if that's how it goes, then that's okay. But there we go. Really, really interesting stuff there. Let's take a look at traditional finance now. The S&P 500 looking amazing here on the weekly. We've closed that weekly candle, and what a spectacular weekly candle here. Very, very clear indeed that Trump did win that election. And if we look at this on the daily, it just can't stop, won't stop. It looks like it will stop potentially because it is retracing a little bit now. So we're going to have to see how this goes, but you know, if it retraces, it's got support, it's no big deal, whatever. Dollar as well, no big deal. It's just kind of doing its thing, figuring itself out. I'm okay with it because none of that stuff seems to be impacting Bitcoin right now. And I think Bitcoin is still just kind of in this situation where it's got to really break out of this equilibrium. It's got to get above 77.4. Hey, Toasty. It's got to get above 77.4, or it's got to get below 75.5. If it gets below 75.5, I think 71 and then 67 are going to be the two pit stops. If it gets below 67, we're in trouble. If it gets above 77.5, then I think actually we're big chilling. This is ABC, always big chilling. And we are going to be, you know, probably closing in on 80K within just a matter of hours, I think, after that. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Altcoins, you know, it's mixed. Solana's looking pretty good. Some other altcoins are looking pretty weak. Yeah, overall, I still don't think it's great. Ethereum is climbing back pretty well. But again, I mean, you know, you would expect a, you know, strong rebound. You know, that this doesn't surprise me. It's died for so long it's been dying, you know, and Ethereum has produced, you know, quite a few strong rebounds already, you know, which really haven't worked out. So this kind of just looks like another one. In fact, so far this is a weaker one. But you know, what I can definitely say with certainty is that you know, this has strong potential to turn into resistance now. It already has turned into resistance, and I think that it could turn into resistance again. And I think that this could really be a major problem for Ethereum against Bitcoin now. Previously, when Ethereum was getting up, it wasn't so clear where the resistance levels are. But now that it broke a really strong level of support, it is clear where the resistance level is. And it is, yeah, it's sitting here at like 0.42 BTC per token. So that could honestly be, you know, where Bitcoin's dominance kind of, you know, starts to retrace again. And then, you know, things do just get potentially really bad for Ethereum here. So the most important takeaway for this video is that big altcoin series is coming. If you want to make sure you're going to catch that, make sure you tell YouTube that you want to see these videos by subscribing and hitting the like button and all that good stuff. And then that's going to be coming out very, very shortly, where I'm going to be going much, much more in depth on all of these topics. So there you go, ladies and gents. Hope you enjoyed this video today. If you have, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers. Bye.